the conversation.
Yo!
But nothing about Bird and Magic had ever been as simple as black and white.
One of the big reasons this rivalry became so emblematic of so many things is because it was an easy dichotomy for people to understand. But it's crazy to simplify it as saying white people like Bird and black people like Magic because 13% of the country is black. But it wasn't like 87% of basketball fans preferred the Celtics.
Who's your favorite basketball player?
Magic Johnson.
Who's your favorite movie star?
Eddie Murphy.
Pina, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas.
It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself.
Has the N-word ever been used by a white person to describe Irvin? I doubt it.
But as Magic enjoyed his image as a crossover star, it was Bird, the one-time great white hope, who had further emerged as the polarizing racial figure, due in part to that era's increasingly conservative political climate.
The rolling back institutionally of the achievements of the civil rights movement were going on apace from about 1975 on. But the triumph of the movement that rolled it back took place in the 1980s. And I think there was people who were very aware in the black community of what was going on. And I think there was a lot of sublimated frustration. And I think one of the ways it got sublimated was into basketball. And I think Larry, through no fault of his own, was the receptacle within which the lingering resentments somehow floated.
And after Bird led the Celtics to the championship in 1986, his third in the pros, winning his third straight MVP award in the process, the resentment grew.
I always felt that the press was biased in favor of Larry Bird. It always felt to me like they were going to make Larry the hero. You know, you'd see somebody score, and Larry would be in a cast in a suit on the bench, and they'd say, Larry Bird made that possible a couple weeks ago when he told that guy he could do it, and he just did it. And they gonna get his motherfucker the assist, and he not in the game?
Not to be racist, but we have a white guy who's the best in the world. It's predominantly a black sport now, and you got a guy like Larry Bird who can't run, who can't jump, but can do everything out there.
That don't mean nothing to me. It don't mean anything to me. It never has. I don't know why. I mean, am I doing something wrong here?
Bird may have sought to avoid the conversation entirely, but the more he won, the less he could escape it.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. What a play by Bird.
In 1987, after Boston beat the Detroit Pistons to advance to the finals for the fourth straight year, Pistons rookie Dennis Rodman called Bird overrated because he was white. His teammate Isaiah Thomas then chimed in with some thoughts of his own.
I think Larry is a very, very good basketball player. I think he's an exceptional talent. But I'd have to agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy. I can remember in the locker room, I think it was Jack McMullen came up to me and said, Isaiah just said, boom, 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 boom. And I go, so?
He didn't care. He didn't care. Everybody else around him cared very deeply in the days and weeks as it turned out ahead.
I mean, the media made it out like it was something, but it didn't matter to me what Isaiah or Dennis Rodman said, and it still don't. It has no bearing on what I do in my life.
He doesn't see race. He really doesn't. And he could have. This guy grew up poor, white, in southern Indiana. Southern Indiana, the home, by the way, of the modern Ku Klux Klan. How he managed not to be affected by the cultural milieu that he grew up in is, I think, a miracle. To me, it's inexplicable.
When I was in about the 6th or 7th grade, I couldn't wait till school to be over because I knew over on the courts, the waiters from the hotel would be over there. They were black, older, and they let me play. You know, I always looked at that as I got an opportunity to play against a black man, and they treated me good. I couldn't wait to play against the best, and at that time, they were the best.
And in 1987, as Bird vied with Magic to be the best, the flap over Isaiah Thomas's racially fueled remarks forced Bird to address his least favorite topic at the worst possible time.
I had to go to a press conference when I was in LA trying to get ready to play the Lakers, and tell people I didn't care. This don't bother me.
The main thing is if the statements or whatever was said doesn't bother me, I don't think it should bother any of us.
From playing all year, trying to get back to the finals and play against Magic, this was a distraction.
Bird was facing off against Magic for the third time in 4 years. And if their relationship had softened, the determination to beat each other had not. As Game 4 proved, the level of competition between them was higher than ever.
Bird played awesome down the stretch of that game.
Trailing 2-1 in the series, the Celtics were down by 1 point in the final minute of the game. But Larry Bird wouldn't be easily vanquished.
Open his aim. Bird goes for three.
With 7 seconds left, though, the Lakers still had life. 3 years earlier in the '84 finals, Magic had flubbed a similar situation. But this was a different Magic, one with a whole new bag of tricks.
My man switched to Kareem, and Kevin McHale jumped out to me. As soon as I saw Kevin, I said, oh, I'm taking him.
You know, Magic puts it on the floor, a couple head and shoulder fakes, and he raised up in the air. And there was nobody that was going to get that shot.
I remember after they called timeout thinking, there's still a shot here. Celtics may still win this game.
Well, they set up a great play. Bird walked Worthy all the way up, forced the denial all the way up.
We've done it before. Clear everybody out, go to the ball, break to the corner.
He caught it here, and as he caught it, all he had to do was turn. And he just turned, and he just let this thing go.
Got a wide open look, couldn't believe it.
And I'm standing right there, it is straight as an arrow.
Dead on.
And the Lakers have won.
They were lucky because it was right on line.
He looked at me like, how did you ever leave me that wide open?
You gotta be kidding me. Changed the whole series.
The Lakers won the series in 6. And in the aftermath of a year in which Magic had won his first MVP, the rivalry suddenly took on a new tone.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
I was shocked that he said it, because I thought to myself, maybe this is the beginning of a new era that's not going to include him. It was the passing of the torch a little bit.
After vanquishing Bird in '87, Magic wasn't done winning. The following year, he squared off in the finals against his good friend Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, beating them to become the NBA's first repeat champions in 2 decades. By the dawn of the '90s, he'd won 5 titles, played in 8 finals, and equaled Bird's MVP tally of 3. But the more Magic won, the less Irvin seemed to be around to reap the spoils.
Once I tasted the champagne and the championship, I wanted more of that and more of that. So Magic kept growing because we were successful. And the persona and all of that came with that.
The Prince of L.A. was now the king. And in Hollywood, being royalty had its perks.
What was Irvin Johnson's vice? Now, you know, my publicist wants me to say winning. But women loved Irvin.
Back then, before voicemail, they used to have these mail slots in the hotels where you leave your key. And when we get into a town, Irvin's mail slot would be so packed, and it would be just Susan and a phone number, Linda and a phone number, Joyce and a phone number. I mean, that was every city, every time.
I was on top of my game as Magic, so I needed all that around me at that time. The women, the this, the that, Hollywood.
Magic was living in a context of sybaritic excess from the minute he walked in the door, and he developed a sweet tooth for it.
sex with several women at the same time.
Yeah. Like I said, women have different fantasies. Some want to be with 2 or 3 at a time. You know, one time I had 6 at one time. That's just...
I really do believe he looks upon Magic Johnson as a movie character he played. I think Irvin got overwhelmed in L.A. by what it meant to be a star.
That's probably true that the Magic ego swallowed Irvin a little bit, but that's okay because I couldn't win 5 championships without that.
Through all of this haze of women and money and fame and fortune, he still kept basketball at #1. He never seemed to lose that focus.
Larry had 2 jobs his last 7 years of playing. It was playing basketball, and then it was him being committed to taking care of his back.
He had first heard it in 1985, building the driveway at his mom's house back in French Lick.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel. And that was the beginning of a process.
I would see him on TV laying down, and then they told me that he had to lay down on planes, different things like that. And I was like, wow.
As Magic soared through the prime of his career, Bird was breaking down. His deteriorating back and punishing style of play proving an excruciating mix.
From 88 to 92, it was painful to watch. It was painful to cover. Larry is quite ornery when he's not feeling well, which means he was ornery for those next 4 years.
He could manage the pain in a way that very few people can do. There'd be days he could come in the office and he couldn't stand up straight.
But even after 2 ruptured Achilles tendons and surgery on his back in 1991, Bird kept going to work. Product of a lesson learned many years before, seeing the swollen ankle of a man long since gone.
Well, we don't know if it broke or not, but it looked broke to me. Had to go to work and he had to get his boot on, and it took everything I had to help him get that boot on his foot. And he stood up limping, and he says, well, I'll see you this weekend, because he was working construction at the time. And I was pretty amazed how he could fight through that all week, then come home on the weekend, and it was black and swollen, and he'd sit around on the weekend and put that boot on and go again. If you get paid to go to work, you got to go to work.
It was a situation that he was seeing almost daily. He had lost the structural stability in his spine, so it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in a door and somebody's still pushing on the door. So what we had to do was unlock his spine, realign it, do techniques that would hold that for 4 hours, 6 hours, that type of thing, and then he'd go play basketball.